the set and setting is the most important thing. These are like the keys that have been kind of echoed for decades in terms of since the psychedelic experience has become kind of a mainstream thing. So let me define set and setting. So the first part, set, refers to your mindset. So this is your headspace that you're in, your attitude that you're going in with the experience, and maybe even where you're at in life. So I am not one of those people that thinks your life needs to be perfectly together for you to trip. I think that's dumb. Whose life is perfectly together? Like, you'll never then have the experience. That being said, there are circumstances where if you are in a fragile state of mind, if you've had a lot of recent trauma that is like you're still processing it and dealing with it, you need to deal with that sober before you are going to tackle it with psychedelics, because the psychedelics are going to give you a chance to really have some perspective on some things, but you kind of need a little distance from that experience to be able to have that perspective. So for the mindset that you want to go into, you really want a mindset of saying like, all right, I'm going into this experience knowing I'm going to get something I never expected before. I'm also going into this experience with the hope of a positive change, or with the hope of something being able to come out of the experience where you are going to have a new approach to things. You want to be okay with the concept of change, because once you experience the psychedelic experience, you are not going to be able to see the world the same way again. It's just not possible. Now, some people can revert back to their old ways, and that's certainly possible. I'm not going to say that these things like fix you and then all of a sudden you have a perfect, like, no, that's not how it goes. But it will enlighten you to a perspective that I think will make it easier for you to deal with difficult things if you take that attitude. And so when you go in with the mindset, you could be like, all right, my life is not exactly where I want it to be. I'm a little frustrated with my current situation, whatever, but I'm not in like a fragile bipolar state of like at any moment I could go off. Don't do it. Don't do psychedelics if you're in that state. But if you're in a state of like, I'm kind of frustrated with like my current situation. I'm kind of frustrated with where I'm at in life. I want to change these things, but I don't know how. That is an okay mindset, because you have this like willingness to say, you know what? I don't know what's wrong. I don't even know the answer, but I know I'm looking for it. That's enough. If you go in with that intention, then that mindset is good enough to have a good experience, because in all likelihood, then the experience will be curated to kind of show you maybe that answer that you didn't know. And again, it's because you're going in with this intention that would come that way. You kind of get what you want out of the experience between LSD and mushrooms. And honestly, I will break down kind of the differences between the two, but I'm going to keep it general at the moment. So you want to go in with a mindset of either like excitement, or even nervous excitement is okay because you don't know what to expect. That's fine. Or to go in with an attitude of like, I want to change something, or I want to learn something new about myself. If you go in with that attitude, you really can't go wrong. The other part of set and setting is the setting. So where are you doing this in? What is the location? Is it your apartment? Is it outside in nature? Is it in a city? Is it at a festival? Where are you doing this? Well, a lot of people do them at festivals or at concerts, and they enjoy them. I'm not really that kind of person, personally. And I enjoy live music. I love live music. And in fact, I've gone to live music and concerts on psychedelics, but I never go on like a full trip. And I know that other people can totally disagree with me and they can handle themselves. That's fine. And I think I could handle myself on a full trip because I have that kind of experience at this point. But I don't really recommend it. If you're new to psychedelics, or if you've never done them before, do not do that. Please don't. Don't mix drugs. Don't take too much of them. Please do them in a safe environment. Preferably have a home base like your apartment or your house or whatever. I'm projecting, I'm a millennial. We can't afford anything. But like, try to keep yourself like a safety net, a place where you can escape people if they become overwhelming, because sensory overload is a real thing in the experience. You can get overwhelmed by a lot of stimuli being around you. So that is something that you want to be super mindful of, that when you're in a setting, you want to have kind of like a home base you can go to. It is totally fine to go out and explore. I personally love being outside, so I love going out and exploring outside, but I like having an apartment to be able to come back to and be able to be like, you know what? I can just lay here and close my eyes and just enjoy the experience. So for me, setting is like, I need to have a safe home base, And then if I want to explore, I try not to venture too far from home base so that way if I ever get in a panic or if something changes dramatically, to be able to come back to it. And a big thing about setting, and something that you realize when you're on the experience, is how much your setting actually influences the experience. So, one room gives you a certain vibe. You walk to another room, it actually feels totally different. It gives you a different energy. You have a different perception for some reason. And it's more fine-tuned than your body normally is, but your body's always really paying attention to these things. It just becomes not as evolutionarily useful to be constantly in a state of awe of the place you're in. At a certain point, you got to get used to normalcy and be able to get into whatever activities you need to do. It would have gotten us killed in the jungle if we were like that all the time. But in this state of mind, you're going to be a lot more sensitive to those things. So if you're ever, for whatever reason, having a bad time, literally walk into another room and just see if it helps. It might not, but just see if it helps. A lot of the time it does. Or even going from inside to outside. A lot of the times that alone can completely change your vibe. If you're feeling a little depressed or a little down, you walk into another room, all of a sudden, you might not be feeling that way anymore. And it really is kind of that quick. So just being mindful of how important that setting is and important that it feels safe. Because there are, experiences that people go through where they feel like somebody's attacking them or like, oh, I thought he was trying to murder me or something like that. And Joey at one point, we tripped on mushrooms, and at one point he thought that I was going to murder him. And I never said anything that implied that at all. He was losing his mind, and he literally couldn't communicate to me. English was not happening for him, and I was talking to him, and I was getting frustrated that he wasn't understanding me, and I think he translated that frustration into that I wanted to kill him or something, but he couldn't even articulate that that's how he was feeling because of the dose he was on. And although that is not a typical experience, right, it can happen, and if you eat too much or you're in a weird setting or a weird state of mind, then it really can fuck with you. And so that's where set and setting is so important, because those are the fundamentals that you're starting the experience off with. The rest of it, it's going to take a life of its own, and you can't predict it, and you can't control it, and you can have a certain activity set in mind, and I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing, and it all goes out the window the second you start tripping, because you're just going to kind of feel the moment of what you want. You become so fully immersed in the present that your plans didn't matter anymore. It kind of becomes of what do you feel like doing now. So that is really important. So going in with a good mindset, having a good attitude, and then also being in a location that is safe and comfortable, that allows you to, take advantage of creature comfort, food, laying down, blankets, music, whatever. You want to be able to have all of those at your fingertips at any moment, because all of those things can help pull you out of a negative experience if you are having one.